news that's come in as far as what Donald Trump has said on the tariffs. In fact, Trump has gone on to state that India will be paying a tariff of 25%. Trump says India will be paying this particular amount. They have a massive trade deficit with India, and India will pay 25% tariff plus penalty as of August. Let me cut across to my colleague Sumita Kari joining us from the newsroom. Sumita, seems like the number has now come in. What are we picking up?
Absolutely, and this is the big breaking story. As of now, Donald Trump has posted on Truth Social that India will be paying a tariff of 25% plus a penalty. Let me go through his tweet and what he's stated. He states that India is our friend. We have over the years done relatively little business with them because the tariffs are far too high, amongst the highest in the world. We have the most strenuous and obnoxious non-monetary trade barriers of any country. Also, they have always bought a vast majority of the military equipment from Russia and are Russia's largest buyers of energy. All things not good. India will therefore be paying a tariff of 25% plus a penalty for the above starting August 1. Thank you for your attention to his matter. In his trademark manner, he has essentially stated that.
All right, Sumita, like you put that into perspective, a big breaking development that we're tracking here on ET now, but we're quickly going to get your technical line checked as well, and we'll come back to you. But that is the big breaking development. What my colleague Sumita was also putting into perspective as far as what Donald Trump has said on that number. Let me quickly break that down for our viewers. He's gone on to state that while India is a friend, over the years done relatively little business with them because their tariffs are far too high, among the highest in the world. He's also gone on to state that America has always bought a vast majority of their military equipment from Russia and are Russia's largest buyer of energy. So what essentially we're looking at here is that all things not good, India will therefore be paying a tariff of 25%. Remember, while we here at ET now were also reporting on the story, we were looking at these numbers of 20 to 25%. So that's essentially what the US has decided to go with, plus a penalty for the above. So we'll try going back to Sumita to understand what that means, because we would also want to understand what sectors will be affected the most. But focusing on what Donald Trump has said in terms of these numbers, 25% tariff for India plus a penalty for the above starting on August 1st, which remember was the deadline as far as these tariffs for other countries is also concerned. But many things to be taken away from what this has been put into perspective, given the fact that he's also concurrently drawn lines with how India has bought a vast majority of the military equipment from Russia and are Russia's largest buyer of energy along with China at a time when everyone wants Russia to stop the killing in Ukraine. So he's of course gone on to look at those multiple aspects of how has been, in a sense, looking at the overall situation, but more importantly trying to go across once again to Sumita, if we do have her. If not, let me just put that into perspective as to what we're looking at here in terms of the big breaking development of US President Donald Trump having announced that big number that India will be paying a tariff of 25%. You're looking at essential details of what the social media post says as well. More importantly, given the fact that he says it's a massive trade deficit, because remember, while we were here tracking this on ET Now as well, we spoke about how there were multiple rounds of conversations that were taking place with several delegations as well with that back and forth. But looks like this particular number that has been settled in of 25% tariff for India. I'm given to understand that Pramit Pal Chaudhary, head South Asia Practice Eurasia Group, is joining me on the show. Pramit, thank you very much for taking the time out. How do you look at this, given the fact that India will now be looking at a 25% tariff?
So I see this as a negotiating ploy. We notice that there is already plans for another round of negotiations, a 50th round on August 25th. The talks were heading for failure as far as the August 1st deadline. That's been fairly evident the past few days. And while Trump has claimed it is over Russian oil, that is not actually true. As usual, Trump is not telling the truth. The real issue in the negotiations has been agriculture. And in particular, dairy and soya have been the stale issues on which India has refused to budge, triggering the present failure to get an agreement before August 1st. The deadline, I would say that the Americans have been signaling for a while that they were prepared to impose some sort of a tariff, punitive tariff, to force India to change its view. India had been bracing, from what I had heard from senior government officials last week, bracing for exactly this, 25% tariff or something in that range, and we're prepared to wait it out. So we will see now us heading into another round of negotiations, probably 2 or 3 more. The tariff will imply, but keep in mind what most Indian companies or exporters have been doing is that they've been stockpiling their products in the United States. This includes companies ranging from Apple to jewelry firms and pharmaceuticals. So they can probably ride out 1 or 2 months of this tariff without that much difficulty. If it extends beyond that, then yes, there will be major economic consequences for India.
All right. Pramit, as you point that out as well, given the fact that one of the sensitive area sectors is agriculture, is that why we're looking at the kind of situation that we are?
It's an area India was refusing to budge, especially on the issue of soya. India had accepted, I believe, soybean oil. They'd accepted soya feed. They'd accepted a number of other variations, but they said actual physical soya they could not accept because of India's ban on genetic modification. Plus, of course, what Indian farmers' responses would be to, because in America, it's very competitive in soya because of its genetic modification technology. Its productivity is 3.3 times higher than India's per acre. So India was unprepared to back down on that issue. Ironically, America, while it produces soya, does not produce soybean oil. It does not refine it like many other countries do. So there was no ability for India to back down. So this has ended up in a stalemate. And therefore, something had to break either on August 1st. And I think the view in America was we combine both the punitive tariffs and further negotiations. And that's the path that seems to have been taken.
All right, Mr. Pramit, that's how you're looking at it. I appreciate your time, but please stay with us on the show. I'm, in fact, going to come back to you as far as that's concerned and more viewpoints as to how you're essentially looking at this big development. But for the moment, it's time for a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back with lots more as far as this big development is concerned.